All right, y'all. Welcome back to the channel. You're here for the UEFA Champions League Matchday 6 fixtures on Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. We got 9 matchups to go over with you. We're going to go over each and every game and we're going to give you our best bet for each one. And as always, if you like this content, like what you hear, we're able to make you some money, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Most importantly, comment down below. Let me know about these picks. Let me know if they're class. Let me know if they're shit. Let me know if there's something in between. I want to know. Please do comment down below. Hit that like button. Hit the notification bell. But again, we're going to go over 9 matchups. Got some good matchups today. Really love that Atalanta versus Real Madrid game. But a couple good games in the 12:45 time slot as well with that Girona versus Liverpool game. I like that game. I'll let you guys know which games I'm going to be betting on. Of course, I use a 5-star system on top of like giving my bet, so I give it like, um 2 out of 5 stars, 3 out of 5 stars. But I'll let you know which games I'm betting on. Probably put that in the pin comment, but I'll also let you know as we go along here. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with these two 12:45 matchups. All right, in this first matchup, we got Zagreb going up against Celtic, and we got Zagreb at home going up against Celtic, which hasn't won an away game in the Champions League since 2017. So it's been a long time since Celtic has won an away matchup, but they're on a 13-game unbeaten streak across all competitions. So that's in the domestic league, in the Scottish Premiership, and in the Champions League. Celtic is probably, I mean, I shouldn't say never. They have played well in the past, but in recent memory, at least over the last 10 years, it's the best they've probably done in this competition in that time frame. So Celtic, of course, drew their last game against Brugge 1-1. That was a 1-1 draw in match day 5. Zagreb, on the other hand, lost 3-0 to Dortmund in a game where I thought they would at least get on the board. But they're 2-1-2. They got 7 points so far in the matchup. Celtic, on the other hand, has 8 points. They're 2-2-1 in terms of 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss, and they've beaten teams like Leipzig and Bratislava. They also had a nil-nil draw against Atalanta. I mentioned that because Atalanta is now in first place in Serie A, and they've been playing really well. Um, so they did draw 0-0. And of course, Zagreb does have wins against Salzburg and Bratislava, which isn't too much to write home about. They did have that 9-2 opening day loss, really a beatdown to Bayern. Um, but both of these teams are both in the mix in terms of for a playoff spot. And actually, when you look at Celtic, they're only 2 points off of having a bye. One of those coveted 1 through 8 spots that will get you a bye and get you past the playoff round. Um, that's the next to come, the next round in this competition. But looking at this matchup, no Bruno Petrovic for Zagreb, which is one of their top scorers. So they might have to rely on a guy like Marco Pejka, who actually had 3 goals in a Champions League matchup against Celtic back in 2014, I do believe. He had a hat trick. Um, but they're going to have to rely on guys like that with Petrovic being out. Celtic's pretty much healthy. So looking at this matchup, I like both teams to score, and I would take Celtic on the double chance to be on the safe side. Still going to get plus 110. I don't know if I'm going to be betting on this one. Again, check the pinned comments. I'm not sure yet, but I do like Celtic on the double chance plus both teams to score. And in the last of the 12:45 Eastern Standard Time matchups, we have Girona going up against Liverpool. Now, Girona is at home, but they're going up against Liverpool, who's top of the table. They've won every single matchup in this competition in the Champions League. And their last game, they beat Real Madrid 2-0. Um, Liverpool is basically unstoppable right now. Now, they are coming off a layoff, which means they're going to have fresh legs coming into this matchup, as the Merseyside derby against Everton was canceled over the weekend because of high winds and the storm there. Um, on the west coast of England. Girona, on the other hand, is, the problem with Girona is that they lost so many good players over the summer, including Zavino and Dovbek, who went to Roma. All these guys that are very prolific scorers for them and playmakers. They lost them all. Savino, of course, to Man City, and again, I mentioned Dovbek to Roma. So that's the problem for Girona. I think if they had those guys, they'd be playing a lot better. But they're struggling to score right now. Their last two Champions League matchups, they haven't scored. They lost their last game to Sturm 1-0, which Sturm isn't necessarily a powerhouse. The only 3 points that they received is off a win against Bratislava, which seems like everyone has been beaten up on in the competition. Which poor Bratislava. I mean, you know what? They didn't look bad in the qualifying rounds at all, and I thought maybe they were going to do a little bit better, but obviously they've been completely hideous. Um, with that being said, I mean, Girona's coming into this matchup missing guys, so they're not healthy. And Liverpool is basically, well, actually Liverpool's going to be missing seven guys too, including Alexis McAllister, which is out of this game because of yellow card, so he's suspended for this matchup. Would have been suspended for the game against Everton as well in the league, so he's been tallying up yellow cards. At any rate, I do like Alexis McAllister, but this team is so deep with guys like Gravenberch, Sly, that they're able to absorb that type of hit and still be able to come out there swinging. Um, Obviously, I like Liverpool in this matchup, even though they're top of the table. They're not going to let up at all. They're out here to prove something. And Girona, they're probably going to be playing their hearts out, but I just don't think they have enough firepower. Um, or defensive prowess to be able to match up against a team like Liverpool. So my best bet for this one is going to be Liverpool plus first half Liverpool plus over 1.5 goals. This is a very risky bet. Is it something that keep in mind that I'm always looking to do plus 100 bets when I give these recommendations on these videos. So at some point we're going to do the low risk and high risk. Still high risk, plus 100 bets here. So Liverpool first half money line plus over 1.5. That means they have to score at least 2 goals in the first half, which I think they're more than capable of doing. So give me Liverpool on the money line first half plus over 1.5 goals. Now moving on to the 3 p.m. Eastern games, we have Shakhtar going up against Bayern. Shakhtar, because of the fighting that's taking place in Ukraine, while they play their domestic league games in Western Ukraine and Lviv, they play their Champions League home games in Germany. Of course, they're going up against Bayern, which is the biggest club in Germany. This is almost a home game for Germany or for Bayern. Um, Although when it's labeled as a home game, Shakhtar has ended up playing well. I think they've won three of their last four home games in the competition. So of course, they are going up against Bayern, which is one of the teams in the competition. And Bayern has 9 points so far. They're 3-0-2. They are coming off a 1-0 victory against PSG in a game where PSG had a red card, and still Bayern was only able to put up a single goal. They struggled to not necessarily create opportunities, but just to with the end product, getting the in the ball in the back of the net. And then Shakhtar is coming off a gut-wrenching loss to PSV, a game which they were up 2-0, and PSV came back to score three unanswered goals to win that matchup 3-2. Shakhtar has 4 points, so they're in the elimination zone. So they're really fighting for survival over these next three match days. Um, yeah, they have 4 points total. They've beaten Young Boys, which is another team that's getting pretty much mollywopped by every team they faced. And then on match day one, they actually drew to Bologna 0-0 in a game that I put money on to be under 2.5 goals. So looking at this matchup, you got a Shakhtar squad that's relatively healthy. Um, their squad is highlighted by attacking midfielder Georgiy Sudikov, which is a guy that actually some of the big clubs in Europe they're looking to potentially buy him maybe in the January window, maybe next summer. But there's definitely a lot of attention on Sudikov, um, going forward. So he's a really good player. I do see Shakhtar getting on the board here. The issue with Bayern and the reason why I'm not quite as hot as, maybe I might go for a clean sheet for Bayern. Maybe I would go for them to score more goals in this matchup, which I do see them scoring at least 2 goals. They still have Musiala. They still have, Leroy Sané, Joshua Kimmich, um, in the like. But they're going to be missing Harry Kane. They're going to be missing Alfonso Davies. They're going to be missing Kingsley Coman. They're going to be missing their starting goalkeeper, Neuer. So this is a team that's pretty banged up coming into this matchup. But they still were able to beat Heidenheim over the weekend 4-2 in a game in which they scored or created a whole bunch of big chances, in their attack. So looking at this matchup and my best bet for this one, it's going to be Bayern on the money line plus both teams to score. So Bayern plus both teams to score. I could see it being 2-1, 3-1. I do see Shakhtar getting on the board, but I do see Bayern coming away in the final analysis. So Bayern money line plus both teams to score. And next up, we got Salzburg going up against PSG, two teams that have been total disappointments in the Champions League up to this point. PSG probably more, actually, definitely more so. I think Luis Enrique and his squad were expected to do probably some pretty big things in the competition. Maybe not as much now that Mbappe has gone to Real Madrid, but I think the expectation at PSG are always high. Salzburg is a squad who has had success in the Champions League in the past, so their expectations, although not as big as PSG and some of the bigger squads, that come from the bigger leagues in Europe, but still not to have only 3 points at this stage of the tournament. It's just a major major disappointment. But PSG is on the verge of elimination with only 4 points. They've only beaten Girona, and that was in match day one in a game where, you know, um, the goalie had an error, and that's how they scored, basically. So they could be looking at only having 1 point, which they earned through a draw to PSV. PSG has been a total disaster in the Champions League this year. However, with that being said, Salzburg's dealing with some injuries in the back line. PSG has really struggled to score in the Champions League this year. Only young boys, Bologna and Sturm have scored less goals than PSG in the tournament this year. So um, I do see that changing a little bit. Again, Salzburg has some injuries in the back line, whereas PSG is pretty much healthy. Listen, this PSG team has tons and tons of talent within the squad. They are more than capable of making a run in this competition. They just need to get together. They need to be able to capitalize on the chances that they are able to create, and find that end product. They need to be more clinical, sometimes more creative. I think putting a guy like João Neves into the squad will provide some of that playmaking ability for guys like Dembele and Barcola. So I do like PSG to win this game. I like PSG in under 3.5 goals. I'm giving it 3.5 stars. I don't know if I'm going to bet on this game myself, only because PSG has been so disappointing up to this point, and they have struggled to score goals so badly. Looking at, I mean, and I will say this, even in that 1-0 loss to Bayern, in match day five, PSG had chances, even though they were a man down. And, they had chances to actually find an equalizer, but it just didn't materialize. But I like PSG to win this. I don't even know if Salzburg will get on the board. So something like 2-0, 2-1, 3-0. I could see that happening and you being able to cash out this bet at plus 165. So PSG in under 3.5. All right, next up we got RB Leipzig going up against Aston Villa. And I'll tell you what, we just talked about PSG being a disappointment. Perhaps no team in the tournament has been more disappointing than RB Leipzig, which has 0 points. Count them, 0 points so far in this tournament. And man, that's a big change from Leipzig, a team that's been in the knockout rounds, later stages of this competition for the past several years. They have 0 points. Now, with that being said, they still do have a chance to finish among the playoff teams. They just need to win, and they need it now. Aston Villa, on the other hand, started this competition with three straight victories, scoring goals, not conceding goals. In the last two, they have not played as well, and they carried over to the domestic league. Now, they have won their last two matchups against Southampton and I believe Brentford. 1-0 victory over the weekend, so they are starting to pick it up a little bit. They're not going to have Leon Bailey in this matchup, so you're looking at a Leipzig team that has guys like Benjamin Sesko, who's been on a tear. He's been scoring goals. But on the other hand, Luis Openda, a guy who scored 24 goals last year, has zero in Europe this year, and he's been a big disappointment. However, looking at this matchup, listen, I know this is a popular pick. I think a lot of people are leaning this way, and I'm going to lean that way as well. I like this pick, and I like it a lot. I'm definitely going to lay some type of bet on this one. I'm going to take RB Leipzig to win this game on the money line, plus under 3.5 goals. Now, the other way to look at this is just to take RB Leipzig on the money line because they're going to get plus 160. So if you don't want to do that and mess around with the goal total, completely understand. Might not want to do that, but I think it's probably going to be under 3.5 goals. Over the last month or so, Aston Villa has not been scoring goals. They haven't been prolific at all. John Duran, who was a guy who was completely on fire, cooled down considerably. Maybe Openda can get his first goal in this one. Maybe Sesko can get one in. Still, if you're going under 3.5, that leaves leeway for um, Aston Villa to score one goal. They can't score two. Okay, they score two goals. This bet's dead. So you might want to just take Leipzig on the money line and not even worry about that under 3.5. Me, I'm going to take a look at the under 3.5 and Leipzig on the money line. That's my best bet for this one. Next up, we have Brest going up against PSV. This is part of the video where I'm probably going to start speeding through these picks. Brest is a team that's really been playing well in this competition. However, domestically, they've been absolute dog shit, playing horrible in the French Liga. So they're actually closer to relegation than they are promotion, but the Champions League spots in Liga, they're just been horrible domestically. But they have 10 points in the Champions League, and they look almost certain of progression towards the playoff rounds. PSV, on the other hand, is absolutely tearing the hell out of the Eredivisie in the Netherlands, first place in that league. They're looking at, with a victory in this one, six straight wins in all competitions. I like them to win this game. I like this bet a lot. Probably from an entertainment standpoint, probably my least favorite game. But from a betting standpoint, really like this one. I like PSV. I think guys like Ricardo Pepi, Tillman, Pepe's been starting over Luke De Jong, and he's really been tearing things up. And looking at him from an international standpoint, I'll just mention passing. He might be passing up Fuller and Balogun in terms of, you know, um, um, uh, Pochettino's number one choice as the United States striker, number one striker. So Pepe's really been on a tear. Just mentioning USA again in passing, Sergino Dest might be available for this game. Coming off a ACL injury that's had him out since the spring of last year, maybe even late winter of last year. So he's finally back. He's fully recovered, and they think maybe he might be on the squad for this matchup against Brest. Brest is, I mean, they really have played well in the Champions League. I don't see it happening in this one. I think PSV is on a roll. They're really hot right now, and I like them on the money line plus over 1.5 goals. You get that at plus 105, so it's one of the more modest bets on the table here, but I think this is almost like a for sure. Let me not say that. Nothing for sure in soccer. Uh, football, excuse me. I am American, so we do call it soccer over here. But I've gotten used to calling it football, and I think that's the respectful name for it. It should be called football. Um, but yeah, I like PSV and over 1.5 goals, and that's something that I'm looking to put a little change on myself. All right, next up we got Club Brugge of Belgium going up against Sporting Lisbon of the Primeira Liga in Portugal. This shouldn't be as hard of a matchup to call. Sporting was on an absolute tear, and then Ruben Amorim left them and went over to Manchester United to coach that miserable team over there in England. And ever since then, Sporting has been on just a wave of losses. They've lost their last three games in all competitions, including two in the domestic league, and then they lost 5-1 against Arsenal. And that was really the start of it. That 5-1 loss against Arsenal in a game where many people were picking Sporting to win that game because they had just come off a victory against Man City the previous match day. I really like this Sporting squad much more than I like this Brugge squad. Although Brugge has been they've been on a complete tear themselves, and they're not losing games right now. So it makes this matchup a lot more difficult to predict than it normally would should, if Sporting would have been, in their regular form. I do believe Sporting is the better squad, without a doubt. It's just they're in the doldrums right now. They're kind of a shambles, but I do expect them to get it back together. And they're missing Goncalves, which has really hurt this squad, because he's just a guy that acts as a secondary scorer to Gorkarez, who is just a complete stud there in the 9 hole as far as being hold up, playmaking, and being able to score. Obviously, really like Gorkarez. I really wish my favorite team, Arsenal, would have picked him up over the summer in the transfer window. They never did that. And they're obviously paying for it, but that's another story for another day. Looking at this matchup, I want to take Sporting on the money line, but to be on the safe side, let's go with both teams to score and then Sporting on the double chance. So Sporting or draw plus both teams to score. Man, I don't like this as much as I normally would like a bet with Sporting because I want to take them on the money line. I just hate the form that they're in right now, and I can't find myself picking them on the money line when I probably should because I don't like even taking Braga to score, but let's take him to score and Sporting on the double chance, and you'll get plus 120 for that. And in our penultimate matchup, we got ourselves a couple bangers here for these last two games. Leverkusen versus Inter. Between this one and the Atalanta versus Real Madrid game, it's hard to pick which game is better. And the more I think about it, it might be this one. Um, you got a Leverkusen side that has, let's see here, they have 10 points, so they're in sixth place against Inter with 13 points. They're in second place. Man, this is such a good game. And really, any side could come away with the victory. Leverkusen has won their last 5 games across all competitions. Inter, on the other hand, has won 4 of their last 5, and the other one was a draw. Both of these teams are just great. And honestly, looking at the field, either one of these teams can go to the final. Them along with Liverpool, these are some of the best teams in the competition. Um, Looking at this game, that really what comes really determines my choice in this matchup is the fact that Leverkusen is missing both of their strikers in Peter Schick and Victor Boniface. So, and just Inter's defense is so damn good. I don't know if I see Inter necessarily winning this matchup. Inter's pretty much fully healthy, and Barella's been on a tear. Marcus Thuram's been on a tear. I love Lautaro Martinez, even though he can be a little bit wasteful in front of goal. I just love this squad. I love what they've been able to do uh, over the last couple years. I at least see the value on that side of the matchup with Inter just because they're the underdog in this matchup. So what I do like in this one is Inter um, on the double chance plus under 2.5 goals. I think that's where the value is. Get that for plus 175. There is some risk in this matchup because obviously, especially Leverkusen, they really can score the goal. Um, but they're going up against Inter, which has one of the best backlines, one of the best defenses in all of European football. So I think Inter on the double chance plus under 2.5 goals. I think that's great value for your money. That's gonna be my best bet for this one. All right, y'all. This is the big one here. Atalanta going up against Real Madrid. Match day 6. And, I had to pick this as my game of the day just because of Real Madrid's pedigree in this competition. Real Madrid needs a result from this game. They're sitting there with 6 points. They're in 24th place, and the threat of elimination is at least on the table. I don't think it's a real possibility, but listen, with a team that's won 15 Champion League titles. This is just isn't acceptable for their fan base. So they really very much need a result from this matchup. And they're going up against an Atalanta squad. If we look at this Atalanta team, they beat Leverkusen for the Europa League title last year. Leverkusen did not lose an entire game up till that point, and then Atalanta beat them. They lost guys like Coop Miners, um, and others, over the summer. Brought in a guy like Rategi who's been completely lights out. Ademola Lookman, both of those guys have to be on the radar for some of these big European clubs to buy them, either during the January or summer window in 2025. But this is a game where Real Madrid needs a result, and they're going up against a team that's as hot as it comes in Europe, now in first place in Serie A. Beat AC Milan over the weekend 2-1, and this is not going to be easy for Madrid, not by any stretch of the imagination. Now they are getting a little bit healthy, in particular in their attack with Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. named to the squad. They're going to have Jude Bellingham available, who scored in, I believe, 5 straight matchups. So this is a Madrid team that's starting to put it together. Obviously, Mbappe, there's all the storylines there, both on and off the field, and that's been a real headache, for this team. But maybe he's getting it together. He scored over the weekend against Girona, and I get the sense that this team is starting to put it together. But they're going up against a team in Atalanta that's already put it together. With that being said, I'm taking Madrid on the money line, plus both teams to score. Um, and, I almost give this pick out reluctantly just because of the way Real Madrid has played this year. But I just I just have the sense that, with all of these guys coming back and with all the pressure that they've had on their backs, they faced it and now they're at the juncture where they're moving past it. In this team with all this talent, guys, guys and gals, listen, this team is going to show up. And I see them showing up, for this match day 6 matchup against Atalanta, which is a very good squad. Nothing to say anything bad about Atalanta. I could just see Real Madrid coming through with the victory. They just get it done in this competition. That's just how it is, and that's how it's probably always going to be. So Real Madrid money line plus both teams to score. All right, folks, that's all I got for you. As always, if you like this content, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment down below. Let me know what you think. I really want to get some comments going on. I want to get some interaction going on. I want to be able to answer you folks. If you got any questions, so on and so forth, comment down below, and we'll see you next time. Good luck with all your bets. If you win some money, hope I'm able to help you win some money, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.